Hey, what's up my people? IzerStreak12 here, and today I want us to go over the results of the YCS that just took place in Utrecht, Netherlands this past weekend. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the top 8 decks and also the top 64 deck representation to kind of get an idea of what the top decks are in this meta. Now, with the arrival of Darkwing Blast, things are going to change a little bit. Hopefully, Dragon Link and Branded can get back on the top tables. But let's go ahead and see how the players did in this tournament, what decks did very well, and some of the tech cards that we saw a lot of and overperform in this tournament. Now, as far as the top 8, the first place was Runic Sprite. Congratulations to Joshua Smith for getting that first place, a pretty amazing achievement. Second place was another Runic Sprite deck. In third place was Evil Twin Sprite. So that should tell you something right there about sprites. I think going into this tournament, everybody was prepared for Tier Elements. They were by far considered the best deck of the format. But I think that played a little bit against them and in favor of sprites. Also, you know, ever since they lost Road and Toad, and I think Sprite players started messing around with other engines. And, you know, I think so far Runic is by far the way to go. The ability to just use Cap Shell and Hyperia to just draw 5 cards on your first turn is ridiculous. Talk about card advantage, especially in Yu-Gi-Oh! So important. In the Runic cards, yeah, you have to sacrifice your battle phase, but you can just wear your opponent down until you can go for the kill shot. So the top 3 places were Runic Sprite, so congratulations to them, very good. And then after that is everything else. So we have at 4th place, we have the Scareclaw Adventure Danger Tier Elements deck, and then we have Exo Sisters. I think as long as Tier Elements has big representation in these tournaments, Exo Sisters is gonna overperform and do great. I did win a YCS not too long ago, so you know, great deck. Then we have Runic Tier Elements, trying to match 2 of the best engines right now in the game. We have Adventure Danger Tier Elements, and finally 9th place we have Mathmac. So again, it tells you a little bit of what are the metas at the moment. The decks to watch out for is definitely with Tier Elements, it's Runics, it is Sprites, so you better prepare for that when you go to your locals or regionals for sure. Now let's go over the first place list. This was piloted by Joshua. You know, you have your usual Runic and Sprite build. You have, you know, your 3 cop, you maxing out on Jet, on Blue. A lot of players were cutting Jet to 2, but no, this time he kept all 3 in there. I was looking at the video he made about his profile, his deck profile, and he kind of explained a lot of the rationale behind some of his choices. One very interesting was the inclusion of Lava Golem in the main deck, because players are not setting up boards with like 4 or 5 monsters. You're most likely going to always encounter like about 2, maybe 3, but not more than that. If you do encounter a player that can populate the field very easily, then you have things like Sphere Mode on the side deck that can help you for games 2 and 3. But yeah, here the ones that really stand out is Hyperia at 2 and Capsule at 1. Great cards, just lots of advantage. In the Runic Fountain, only 2. A lot of players were playing 3 in some of the builds I've seen. A lot of them were playing 1, but I think with the inclusion of cards like Cosmic Cyclone, you kind of have to include more than 1. Otherwise, you're going to lose that, and that's kind of what keeps you alive and gets you that hand advantage. As far as the side deck, I think a lot of the cards that put in a lot of work this weekend were evenly matched. And Eradicator, Epidemic Virus. These 2 cards are almost in every side deck, and they were perfect for the kind of meta that we are in at the moment. Now, as far as representation with the top 64, you have 30% of players were on the Runic Sprite. I think this was definitely a surprise, given that a lot of players were, you know, afraid of Tier Elements as the best deck, hands down. Some people were calling it a Tier 0 type of deck, but Runic Sprite came in clutch. I think also the fact that Tier Elements was doing so well played a little bit against them, because everybody was preparing for them, so they were able to beat them. Then you have Tier Elements 13%. Then you have Sprites, Pure Sprite at 9%. Floandereese is one of those decks that kind of, it's always, you know, flying under the radar, no pun intended. It's not really the center of conversation in most competitive, you know, circles, but it's always there. So that should tell you that, you know, it's a pretty good investment. I mean, the deck's also very affordable. So if you want something competitive that is gonna get you to the top tables, Floandereese is a good one to look into. Then we have Live Twin Sprite with 8% of the top 64. Now this right here, I think after losing Rodent Totem, Sprite players were forced to kind of look elsewhere for reliable engines, and they found it in Runic, hands down. But also Life Twin is a good option. It's a good option. They work very well together. MathMech at only 6%. I was expecting this deck to do a little bit better, but no, 6%, that's all they got. And then 26% was everything else. So we are in a Runic Sprite Tier Element meta. Now, with the inclusion of Darkwing Blast in a couple weeks, we should be seeing a little bit of a shift. I think Dragon Link and the branded strategies might get back to the top tables, but we'll see. The one thing that we know for sure is that banishing is a constant in this metagame. Most strategies do it and do it very well. And also Graveyard Reliance is going to be key, because then you also have cards like the bestial cards that need to banish from the grave to summon themselves, but then you have Tier Elements that relies on the graveyard 100%. You also have other, you know, I think that, I'm sorry, you also have other decks like Rika that use the hand, you know, hand effects to summon themselves onto the field, but also it kind of goes along the lines of what Bestial does. So anything that can interrupt the hand will be a good option on your side deck as well. All right, guys, so with that out of the way, I hope you guys liked this video. If you liked it, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and I'll be catching you in the next one.